Hey everybody, JK here from Animator Island. Welcome to today's live stream. So it's going to be a shorter one today, unlike our usual Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time live streams, which go on for many hours. This one's going to be a gesture drawing session, as we've been doing recently. Figured why not keep that train going. But I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of just flat out gesture drawings, I thought I would try a bit of an experiment. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take the next pose from photo reference on the collection that I put together that we've been seeing over the past couple live streams. And I'm going to draw that pose, and then I'm going to pretend it is the breakdown drawing for an animated shot. And then I'm going to draw from imagination what key would come before it and what key might come after it. And then we're going to put them together, and we'll probably try and flip through them if I can get Procreate to cooperate. And we'll see the gesture drawing move. I have no idea how this is going to work. I've not tried this particular thing before. I've obviously done a lot of animating in the past. I've done breakdowns and gestures, and I've done key poses and all this stuff, but I've never tried to just take a random gesture drawing and then bookend it with other pieces of poses for animation. As far as I know, I've not actually seen anybody do this sort of exercise, but I think it's really a cool thing. So I figured, why not? As I'm doing that, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, so feel free to chat away. You know, talk about what's going on here, ask questions if you have any questions, things like that. Oh, see a question pop up first. Dylan and Maria both saying hi. How's it going? Maria will be in and out of the stream. You seem super busy all the time, so that I'm used to that. But I'm glad you could stop by. And then we have a quick question. Animator Noob says, love your channel. Do you have a Discord server for reviews and feedback? We do not have a Discord server at the moment for that sort of thing. We're talking about possibly putting it together. There's still early stages of discussions there from Ferdinand and I. But I will say this, you'll see the little scrolly bar at the very bottom of the screen there. If you're looking for feedback, Ferdinand does offer one-on-one and group mentoring. Currently. So if you need that, it is available to you. You can just check out animatorisland.com or head over to Patreon, depending on if you're looking for more one-on-one mentoring or group mentoring. But he has set that up, so that is an option available. In the future, we may have a Discord server, or we're going to try and figure that sort of thing out because we keep getting requests for it. So it's possible that we'll do that at some point. Okay, I think that's all of the little stuff, and then we'll just jump right into some gesture drawing for animation. So let me share the old iPad, and we'll go from there. Hope everybody's having a good week so far, and a happy Friday. It's been busy here. I wanted to do a live stream yesterday, but just the day it was gone. It's springtime in Pennsylvania, which means there's a lot of outdoor stuff that I have to do to get things in shape. Hostas to transplant and weeds to pull, things like that. All right, so these are the gestures that you see on screen now that we've done in the past few sessions. If you're looking for those live streams, the recordings are available. So if you check the recording of this one over on YouTube at Animator Island TV, I will try and remember to post the links to the other ones. So, but this is the reference that we're going to use today for today's experiment slash exercise. And so again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw this pose first of all, and then I'm going to treat it as a breakdown, and I'm going to try and imagine what came right before and what came right after. I don't have to do exactly what actually happened right before and right after. I could just make something up, and that's what I will do because I don't know. This appears to be from the 2012 maybe World Championship of Figure Skating. So I could go back and I look through the whole reference, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just make it up off the top of my head. Um, Animator Noob says, well, you're American? I thought you were all German. We are half German, Ferdinand being the German half and me being the American half. So coming at you from all over the world. But yes. Okay, so we're going to just start by doing rough. I'm going to keep things pretty rough in this one. I'm not going to go into quite as detailed, I don't think, as I did for some of these others above it. Um, and we're just going to keep it rough and we're going to keep it loose, and then we'll mess with the layers and things, and we'll try and set up some onion skinning, and or I might actually not. I might just try to do all three poses next to one another. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get to it. First things first, we definitely have to start off with this. And as I've said in previous gesture drawing live streams, feel free to join in. Grab a sketchbook, whatever you like to do, and we can all draw together. That works too. See what you come up with, because that's the way to improve. All right. So our main line here is uh, is pretty straight because he's got this nice angle to him, and it's just got a little bit of a bend at the very top where the head would come into play. Um, so we'll keep that. And I'm gonna tweak things a bunch with the transform tool after I get a little far into this, just because um, I'm gonna work looser and it's not the right angle. So normally I wouldn't go and just transform tool the heck out of everything. I would just redo it over and over again. But since we're going to do things a smidge differently than we usually do, I figure why not change up the process a little bit. And as I said, if anybody has any questions or anything, whether it's about gesture drawing or anything else, feel free to comment away. All right. So this gets us our kind of starting spot, and then we can go in and layer on some additional forms. But I do, if I'm going to be doing this as a sort of animation, it means that I don't need to, but I'm going to keep my forms much more shape forward, right? So that I can recreate those shapes. So I would normally not necessarily use uh, like chunky shapes here. So like, for example, let me start a new layer real quick. This shape right here, which I'm using kind of for the upper torso, which will move over. This shape, normally I would put a lot more, um, not necessarily detail, but I would try and capture more subtleties to this shape. But because I'm going to be doing this for animation instead of for a traditional gesture drawing or an illustration or something like that, I'm going to keep this much more bold so that I can manipulate it more easily when we're coming to the other poses. So it may not be quite as accurate to reality, but I'm going to keep it that way for the purpose of our little exercise here. And the same goes for the arms. So I'm going to put my arm in as kind of a long cylinder rather than all the different anatomy that we have been doing in the past, simply because I want to uh, later go through and do additional poses, which means I'm going to need to keep things consistent and keep things more simplified. And then I could always go back in and add detail and anatomy and things like that. But when you're working through your first pass of an animation, it really, really pays off for you to keep things simplified and keep things clean, not necessarily clean, keep things clear, right? You don't want all the detail in the initial shot. The number one thing that I see new 2D animators, the number one mistake I see new 2D animators make is they try and make things too complex too fast. You can't you can't handle all the anatomy and try and figure out the movement. So you want to keep things just rough and loose in the beginning, and then you can always go back on top, do additional passes, do your cleanup drawings, do your inking, all that fun stuff or hard work stuff, because I don't think that's super fun, at least not to me. But initially keep things this sort of looseness and this sort of simplicity so that you aren't overwhelming yourself um, later on. So we'll just keep that we're gonna, you know, I have to almost fight myself to not put in the anatomy, but I'm not going to put in the anatomy on purpose so that I can keep things rough and loose. All right, coming along. And again, my brain wants to put in all of the anatomy and all of the detail, and I have to keep telling my brain, no, we're staying rough and loose for this attempt. Okay, so that's there, and then all right, cool. So just like that, in a moment or two, we've managed to come out with a decent gesture drawing. It's not the favorite gesture drawing I've ever done, but it tells the story. It does what it needs to do. Um, and I guess these are the proportions we're going to kind of go with. It's not necessarily a dead-on model where the reference would be our model here. Um, but that's okay, because we're just gonna go with it, and then again, we can always go back and add more and add detail and things like that. I think I am going to change the head a little bit because right now it is a smidgen off. So let's get that a little bigger. There we go. I think that works a little better for this guy. All right. And now that back leg is bugging me too. Now that I'm stepping back from it is a hair. So let me tweak that too. Beauty of digital work, you can go ahead and move stuff around and tweak things and get it to where you want it to be. Okay. I think that suits me a little bit better. There, that goes there. Okay, good deal. All right. So from here, we are going to. Oh, Hailey's here. Hey, Hailey. Um, from here, we're going to imagine and craft what would be keyframes on either side of this what we're calling a breakdown drawing. This would be the center point, and then we'll want to see what would come right before and what might come right after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in real quick, and we're going to copy this to its own new layer, and we're going to turn off everything else. And I'm going to duplicate this so that I have one previously. And we're just going to work. Should I group them? No, we're not going to group them. But I will move them both up and over a bit so that, oops. All right, so we're gonna get these kind of in the middle here so that we can work without all the other clutter around us. And we'll move this to the center. So if this is going to be my breakdown or the center drawing of 3 poses, then, oh, and Nathan's here. Nathan Apple, how's it going? And so this is going to be the center or breakdown pose of this movement that we're going to do, this one particular shot. So I need to kind of determine what goes before it and what goes after it. Now there's 2 things. No, I shouldn't say there's 2. There's like 1,000 things that I could do here. Maybe he's landing from a jump, in which case the pose beforehand would need to be up and more extended, and then the pose afterwards would be more contracted. Maybe he's going into a jump, where the pose beforehand then would be contracted, and he's going out and spreading into a jump. Or maybe he's not in a jump at all, and he's just doing a very elegant movement, sort of a dance on the ice. I don't know. There's a lot of different options here. So what I'm going to do is stare at the photo. Sorry, my phone is buzzing in my pocket. I'm going to stare at the photo for a minute, and I'm going to try and kind of imagine the movement, imagine the feel of what's happening. Like, what is going on here? What do I want to convey? Where do I want to move particular things? And I think what I would like to do is I would like to start him out kind of more, uh, not hunched, more closed as opposed, and then I'd like him to finish out a little more open. So I'm going to, before I get to the actual gestures, I'm going to kind of try and thumbnail that out a little bit so that I can get an idea of how that might work. So right now he's got his leg down here and his arm here and his other arm extended here. And this is like ridiculously small thumbnail that it's just ugly, but doesn't matter because it represents what I need it to represent. So before this, I think I'm going to go after because I feel like I know what I want him to be after. After, I want him still on this leg, but I'm going to have him kick his other leg out like this. So this leg is still like that, and this leg is like this, and then I'm going to have his arm be up, like in this nice arc, right? So the arm will come up in an arc, and the other arm is going to stay down here, or do I want it bent? Sorry. The joy of the animating life. You have to actually do it. So, okay, so he's currently, and you want him to come up. So this arm actually is probably going to come out too. All right, so we're going to put that arm out. Sometimes you just have to, you have to act it out. So that arm will actually also come up. So now I don't know if this is going to work out, but I'm going to try it and see how it goes. I do want that foot up, I think, because I think that'll be a nice. Now, in non uh, non-figure skating, he would fall over in this current pose, which is kind of one of the cool things about using figure skating reference, right? You can, it's almost got this flowy magical quality to it because they're defying gravity a lot of the time. Because of his momentum, he's able to angle himself in ways. This is mid movement, so we can do some crazier, more extreme things. Uh, Animator Noob says he looks like he's trying to decelerate. Like, whoa, dude, too fast. Hold up. I agree. It's just like, and I think if even if he was on like rollerblades or something, I feel like that would fit with this. With the ice skating, I'm gonna go with this kind of really pushing things. So if this is where he's ending up, that means that beforehand he's got to be kind of down. And for my own brain, because he's kind of moving in this direction, right? In the reference, he's moving in this direction. I'm going to put my first frame or my first thumbnail on the right side so that I can get that feeling of him moving. So we're going to, that's why I moved, even though this is pose 3 and this is pose 2, I'm going to do pose 1 on the right side so that we can kind of get that flow in my thumbnails. So if this is where he's headed, I'm going to, can I invert this? Probably. I could probably get a nice S curve in. Let's say that he does. Let's say that he's in more. He's got his shoulders up, and let's get his arm on this side. This arm's going to be over on this side so that he can kind of bring it all the way up, and we can get a lot of range of motion here. And this other arm can just be kind of tight to him, and then this leg. Where do I want this leg? That I'm not sure. I have to figure that out. Let's get this here. Oops. If we got him down here like this, I'm gonna have to figure out the other leg, I think, because I'm not exactly sure where I want it right now. And this is an ugly little thumbnail, but that's the beauty of thumbnails, right? You can make them hideously ugly. What is even happening there? Oh, right. So his elbow comes down and his arm comes this way. And so this is on top of that. Man, it's ugly. That's okay. All right. So this is just kind of getting my thoughts down on the screen. Uh, Ito says, hi. Hello, Ito. Welcome to the live stream. So if I was going to go with this as 1, 2, and 3, we can copy it over here next and try and get it where it needs to be. So if we have this as our first pose, then he's going to the skate. I've made a mistake. Okay, so his skate is, these are weird skates. His skate is like sideways like this, and I put his heel in the air, which is not accurate. He's not on his toe. So let me fix that in this drawing. This will be like this instead. Oops. My bad, random fellow. I mistook what it was. So right now the skate blade is the ground. It's the thing that's grounding him to the ice. So I need to make sure that that is very clear and very grounded. If I don't, then everything else is going to be wonky because he doesn't have any weight to him. Even though he's a little bit weightless, because we're in motion and in movement, we still need that grounding point because he's not in the air and all of his weight is on that blade. So we need to make sure that we get that right. Maria says, there's a beautiful incongruous relaxation to the shot. That grounded foot with a toe impresses me. It feels like it's pressed far forward. Honestly, figure skating in general is amazing because like you have to have such strength to do it. I mean, to put all your weight on a little blade like that and on your foot like that, it's hard stuff. It's um would maybe would maybe be flowing the body to the side to compensate that toe. I'm not sure. Easily confused. Um, Feels like it's pressed far forward. Would maybe be flowing the body to the side to compensate that toe. Uh, I think honestly, right now, the foot is pretty evenly distributing the weight. I don't think it's tricky, right? Because if we zoom in, it almost looks like this that he's on a toe, right? We have this kind of shape, and it feels like he's on his toe, but he's really not on his toe, and we can kind of see that here in the blade. He's actually on his whole foot, kind of sliding in sideways and going forward, but I feel like a lot of his weight is actually on the whole foot rather than just the toe. Obviously, figure skaters often put a lot of weight on their toes on that front point, especially when doing spins and things. But right now, I feel like a lot of the weight is distributed on that foot. So we want to get that clear, and that's why I'll keep messing with this until we get it pretty right. All right, it's going to be somewhere in that neighborhood. All right, so given that, and we want to get him down uh, a bit before he extends this leg. So I want to keep the blade probably similar to where it is, but we're going to get his leg bent, and we're going to get the other leg. It's gonna, where's it gonna end up? It's gonna end up over, which means that to get a nice arc, we'll probably want to kick that leg back even more. And in the thumbnail, I have that foot kind of going out, which will give us a nice change of direction for this foot. So we'll get that leg back here. We'll get this leg here, and we're going to have our, it's going to be twisted a little bit more, I think, but that's fine. And we'll get our torso in, and so we want to keep the head, we'll just keep the head straight like this and keep his kind of in profile. And then this arm is going to stay down like this. I think figuring that out as I'm going. Um, and then this arm we wanted to cross over, right? Like this. And maybe we have it come up almost like that, because that'll give us a nice flowy movement, I think. So as you could tell, this next drawing is kind of a mess, right? Because I'm thinking it out as I go. I always go back and clean it up afterwards, but right now I'm trying to nail down what is happening here and what it looks like and how it works. So we're gonna get that foot down here like that, and then we can extend the leg up here, and we'll clean things up as we go and figure it out a little bit. Well, let's get this leg up to there and keep that there, and then we'll get that leg sticking out that way. We've got this nice curve here, which hopefully will extend up into as he's standing. Honestly, I'm gonna need some. I'm gonna need a bunch of in-betweens to make. Well, maybe not, but I think I'm gonna need a bunch of in-betweens to make this even remotely acceptable. But we'll find out. Uh, see how it goes. And then this, the shoulders are going to come in here. We're going to keep this arm curved. We're going to kind of break some anatomy a little bit just to, because this is one frame. And so as animators, we're allowed to get away with some cheating. We're going to cheat a little bit. All right, let's pretend like that's our first pose. And then he's going to come out and into this pose, which means that, let me start a new layer with a new color. Let's go with a nice pink. Feel like using that today. All right, so this arm is going to come up and out like this. So this hand's going to go whoop. We're going to get this nice flowy movement in the, if we were going to in between the whole thing. This arm's going to come out. Uh, he's going to be pushing like up off of this knee, and the knee is going to come kind of down to make it straight. And then this leg is going to start to come forward right into here. And this arm is barely going to do much. It's just coming out a little bit. And in the final pose, it's going to come out a little bit more, but that's all it's going to do. And then this arm will continue to extend until it's ta-da, kind of actually be out like that. So that arm will continue to extend out to there. And the head, actually the head may come up more like that. So we can, how would that work? The head will be on an arc like this, I think. Come up and out, and it's going to be open, and then obviously, like I said, the foot will come all the way out, and it's going to be up, and he's going to be sailing, just soaring, as you see some figure skaters just do this like this. They're leaning back right on the one skate, and it feels like they're just defying gravity. So we're going to end with that sort of pose. All right, so we'll get rid of that. Just kind of, that was planning some stuff out, and let's get our deep purple color back in. All right. So if we have, this is our first pose and this is our second, we're going to finish out with our third. And let me move these over a little so that we've got room, because this last one is going to be fully extended and really, really just, actually, I'm going to put this last one on its own frame, or its own layer, because I don't want to, run out of room and make it feel like I'm constrained by the space that I have. So I'm going to put this on its own layer, and I'm not going to worry about like if it interferes with anything else. I'm just going to give this, I'm going to give this one uh, kind of uh, room. This one's going to be the biggest mess, I think, because um, I just want to get this feel and this flow in. And that means that I'm going to have to go back and fix this, but that's okay, because I just want to get that feeling in here, so that, how far up do I want the foot? I have the foot all the way up. Why not? So as you can see, this is ugly. It's not on model. Everything about it is not correct yet. And now we're going to go in and we're going to fix it and we're going to make it correct. If I was on paper, I would put a new piece of paper on top and then I would go back and start. Well, actually, I'd put a new piece of paper on top and then I'd try and get this pose again, but better. But because we're working digitally, we can go ahead and mess with stuff that way. Cheating in a bit. Go there. We're looking on model here. Because he's extended, so let's get a little more this way. All right, I think that should work. Move this up a smidge. Let's try that and see what happens. All right. So on top of this, we're going to now actually construct the forms and the, can we get this out? It'd be nice if we could invert this shape a little bit. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try. Let's get the head here. Head here, invert that, the neck on, and then we got our pelvis, which at this point is still facing kind of that forward. And I'm going to have to go in and I'm going to have to do a lot of cleanup on this and fix some things, but that's okay because we're staying rough and loose right now so that we can get that movement in. We really need to get that movement before we do anything else. All right. So then this leg is here and comes out, but it was kind of foreshortened a little bit. We need to, well, except I don't think it would be because it's really out. So no, this leg is not foreshortened. We're going to need to get the whole leg in here. So that will be out to here instead. So get rid of that. Incorrect. Didn't work. And then this arm is fully extended. We're going to keep the hand away from us, I think. Which is not particularly elegant, so I don't think this is what a regular figure skater would actually do, but we're going to do it anyway. Breaking all the rules today, it's all right. And then I think we're going to also get this hand flayed out like the other one, because this is his moment of soaring. Now, it doesn't feel that way. Right now, it feels very off balance and it feels incorrect. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to drop my opacity to this layer, which is another good reason to work on a new layer. Start another new layer, and then I'm going to try and fix that. So if I want him soaring, all right, let me start by saying this. Oh, Betos just subscribed. Thanks for subscribing. Let me say this. If I was doing this for real, like if I wanted to turn this into an actual an animation or whatever, I would never just I shouldn't say never, but I would probably almost never just make this up as I'm doing it right now. I would go find the sort of pose that I'm thinking about because I have something very distinct in my head. I would find something similar to that pose, and then I would do some more drawing from reference so that I could really get it into my blood before I invented this final pose. But we're just doing this for fun and an experiment and an exercise, so I'm not going to do that. But if I was, I just want to make clear that if I was doing this professionally instead of just for an exercise, and even if I was just doing it for an exercise, but I wasn't doing it live and with a time limit, I would probably go ahead and find reference. I'd take a few minutes. I'd go look for some more reference, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to keep going. So if I want him soaring, I need that leg to really be kicked out in a sense. So this can probably stay where it is. But I really want that soaring feel. Maybe I kick the leg out. Yeah, maybe we kick the leg out even more. Can we get the arm up more? Oh, maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to Yeah, I think that might be what we need to do. Let's get the arms down like this more and keep the head sort of where it was. Okay, I think this is going to work better. It's going to be subtly different, but I think it's going to be different enough that it's going to capture that soaring feeling that I was looking for, rather than before where he felt like he was falling rather than soaring. And we're going to get this like just puffed out, because that kind of will help that feel, I think. All right. Something similar to that, I think, is going to work. And then this arm comes up. And then something like that. And we'll get the other hand down here as out like that, sort of. Get rid of that. Something along those lines, I think, is going to work. And then we'll get the head and the neck in there. He's kind of coming toward us more now, which I like better. And so that's going to work a little bit better. Okay, cool. So that's kind of where it would come. Now the next step will be to kind of get my proportions right and get my character a little more on model. But before I do that, I'd like to run it through kind of a test to see if we're in the right place, we're on the right track, and that sort of thing. And to do that, I will have to, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit so that we can see what's in front and what's behind and all that fun stuff. So to do that, I'm going to put things on their own separate layers, and then we're going to use Procreate's animation features in order to kind of roll through these drawings and see how it would function. So that will take me a moment to get in order. Feel free to chat in the chat about whatever you like in the meantime. Forgive me for how long this is going to take me, because I'm going to have to just get everything where it needs to be. Let's cut that. We'll paste it. That will get us our second layer. We're going to need to move this on top, somewhere around that neighborhood. Our proportions aren't terrible. Not great, but they're not terrible. And then we need to get this one and cut that. Put it on its own layer. And we'll get that down here. All right. So this should get us closer to where we need to be. We're going to hide everything else. And then whoops, come on, iPad. All right. We're going to, what are you doing, buddy? Oh my God, sorry. The iPad is becoming ornery for right now for some reason. I think it's because my left hand is too sweaty. Ooh, all right, there we go. All right, so with those on in place, we can go to video, no, canvas, yep, animation assist. Here we go. All right, so if we just, he's freaking out if we just leave it the way that it is, so we need to change our frames per second so that, and we'll do one shots. Let's change our frame. Well, actually, we could just leave it up there and hold our frames. Oops, nope, didn't want to do that. There we go. Where is it? There we go. Hold duration. So if we wanted, how many frames are going to be in between this? I'd probably do at least 2 in-betweens in between each. So held, but we're not at 24 frames per second. Let me go back. Add this, make it 24 frames per second. So that means that we would hold this one, and then this would be a new in between, and that, okay. So yeah, we need 5 frames in between each. Okay, so something like that. And then we need to, uh, I don't want it to, all right, we're gonna, here, I'm just gonna hold this for like 20 frames and then run it on a loop instead. Okay, there we go. Now we can kind of see it in action. So so this is kind of where we've gotten to. This is what we would be kind of coming in now. Obviously, uh, because the character would be moving at the same time, we would need to add either a panning of the camera, or we could animate it by moving the actual character around. But he's skating forward, so you'll have to almost imagine in your own head a background that's kind of moving in the opposite direction so that it would look like he was skating at the same time. Otherwise, obviously, he's falling over. But this will give us an idea of kind of where things are and where they're headed. Um, if I'm watching it and staring at it, I think that our uh, I think, whoops, don't want to add a frame settings. I think we need to speed it up a smidge. So let's just knock it down to 20 for a second and see if that helps. No, or wait, actually, we would need to go more if I want to go a little faster. My bad. Okay. So I think speeding up a little is going to be more beneficial. But this would be kind of, and so I would see the first frame kind of coming in as them hunched, and then this is the middle, and then we would have a little bit of overshoot afterwards to kind of a moving hold into the final, which would be a little bit more extreme than this one. So we would need a lot more poses in here to make this really sing. But hopefully you can get an idea of, and I see that the leg is really problematic. So let's fix that before we go any further. This leg is really the back leg is not going to work here because if you just look for a second at the back leg, that back foot is is not gonna, it kind of is going the wrong direction first. So we need to go back into this one, and we need to fix that to get our arcs correct and things. So if we got this foot kind of more up here, it's gonna be tricky. I might have to fix them. I would probably have to change the middle pose, but we're gonna not for now. Um, but I would have to change the middle pose, I think. Since that's the one we based on reference, though, I hesitate to do that. So let's try that and see how it comes out. So here we got a little bit better, but I would need to change that middle pose because it's not working. There's too much pop there. It's, yeah. But what I would do at this point is I would isolate different parts essentially and start looking at my arcs and looking at where things are flowing and if they're flowing properly and things like that. Let me, for example, do one drawing in between these two. Um, so I might come up here like this. The chest is coming up, so we would go somewhere in this neighborhood. Um, and we have to, it's getting messy in this area, but that's okay. What I really wanted to try and do here is get this arm to begin its movement forward. So we're going to get the hand that's over here to come out like here, like that. And this leg is going to start its coming up from its bend. And then this leg is a mess and problematic. So weak. Ugh, yuck. That's so bad. But that's okay. This is rough and I'm keeping it loose. What I really want to focus on is this front arm more than anything else. Or actually it's not that. It's not that arm. My bad. It's here. So let's get rid of that. But I want to kind of get this arm in good shape to come across the body. And I think that that would be my next step if I was continuing. So let's see, we would change this to a hold of 3, and we'd make this a hold of 3, 2. Let's see what happens. Yeah, okay. So then we start to, and it's very broken and it needs so much work. But you could see where we would start to put in an in between, and I'm just initially probably worried, mostly not worried, but I'm concentrating on getting that arm, this what was in the front arm into the back arm to get this beautiful arc. So I would go through and I would really try and get that sort of thing in nice shape so that I could get that flowy movement that I'm looking for. And from there, I can go in and just really concentrate individually on different elements of the animation. All right. So normally, we can probably leave that running in the background and I'll come up larger. Normally, uh, I would do all of this sort of work, and like this isn't even necessarily a start. Like this isn't what you would ever see, right? I This is like early tests that I would use before I put everything together and then started producing the final. These are still almost in thumbnail form in a sense. So that's one of the things that kind of comes with this live stream stuff. You get to see the very raw, very rough, very broken versions of things, and I'm doing it live. But normally, this stuff is done, by yourself in a closed room, and the audience never sees this ugly stage, right? Um, but that's just the nature of doing this stuff live. And I think that there's something interesting about it because we all get to learn from it as we're going. You get to see that professional animators still struggle with stuff, and especially if they're just making it up as they go, which is generally not the best idea. Um, this could use a lot more reference. This could use obviously a lot more work. And then what I could do is once I had more in betweens and once I had things worked out better, I shouldn't say more in betweens. More in betweens is not going to fix this. I would need to go back and change each of the 3 key poses or the 2 keys and the breakdown so that I get a better flow and I get a better result. Because you can polish something to no end. You can polish and polish and polish, but if this core is not correct, it's not going to fly. It's not going to function well. So it really pays to go back and fix it on that fundamental level. However, that being said, as a first time experiment, I think it turned out okay. It's something I definitely would try again. I might in the future use that first photo reference as one of the key poses instead of the breakdown because it's kind of tricky to work in both directions, back and forward instead of starting at the beginning or starting at the end even. But I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting thing to try. All right, so that's kind of what we're gonna do for today. I'm gonna set this aside now, and then if I decide to later, I'll come back to it and try and keep working on it a little bit. So if you're interested in seeing how this progresses, let me know either in the comments or in the chat, and I may continue it. If not, no worries. We'll just let it be what it is and move on to whatever's next after that. Cool. That's all I've got for today, I think. I hope you enjoyed the live stream and you got some insights as you were going. but if not, it's just an enjoyable experience. I do want to let you know that the next regular live stream will be this coming Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So you can check that out if you're interested. I believe we'll be working on mouths, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet. But that's the next regularly scheduled live stream. If there's another one over the weekend, there may be. So feel free to subscribe so that it pops up. We'll do one more quick comment here. Oh, Maria says, thanks for the wonderful demonstration. I appreciate that. I clicked on the wrong one. I wasn't trying to toot my own horn there. Mary Ann says, I tried learning anatomy by copying drawings. I will touch on that real quickly. Let's pause this because it just keeps going over and over. So learning anatomy is a very wise thing. Definitely do that. You have to be careful when you're using drawings to learn anatomy, because the artist, unless they've done a photorealistic job, in which case I guess you could use it, but even still, the artist has already changed some things from reality, right? So it's good to study drawings, it's good to study art in terms of anatomy, but you almost need to look at that as studying the decisions that the artist made regarding anatomy rather than the anatomy itself, if that makes sense. If you can, and in our information age, you should be able to study anatomy from life, study anatomy from even photos, but study it from reality before you move on to studying it from drawings. Because if you study from drawings, again, you're always getting that influence of the other artist. You're not all the way to reality yet. And as you progress as an artist, and especially with your anatomy, you're going to be making your own simplifying decisions. You're going to be deciding how to portray that anatomy. And if it's based on somebody else's symbolism, it's not going to give you the same result as if you're studying from reality. So definitely give it a whirl by all means. Learn from copying drawings, but even more so, it really pays to study from photos, from real life if you can manage it, things like that. But that's generally advisable. You mean such as understanding proportion? Yeah, proportion's a big part of it. Each artist is going to change the proportion a little bit in characters and in human design, but even more than that, like an artist is going to draw particular muscle structures in their own way that's unique to them. It might be very similar to reality, but they have to make certain decisions by putting down the lines. So you're always going to have a better result long term if you try and go straight to the source, straight to reality. Don't have a middleman. That other artist is like a middleman bringing you reality, but they put a little bit of their own lens in. So again, I'm not saying don't study drawings that other people have done, because that can be very helpful. But initially, when you're trying to figure out the real nuts and bolts and how reality works, it really pays to go with reality. There are some excellent books out there on anatomy. I actually, the other day, short story before we quit, the other day I spent an hour going through my local library's catalog, and I reserved like 50 books, and half of them just came in. So I had this giant sack of books. But they were on things like anatomy and gesture drawing, because I've been doing a lot of gesture drawing with everybody, and I've been doing, we're always going to be studying anatomy and things. But I got a ton of books. And so that's a resource that's available. There are a lot of really good books on anatomy, but just do keep in mind that drawing from life, really studying life is going to suit you well over maybe studying how a particular artist approached the anatomy. That's almost step two, right? Step one is going to the source, and step two is seeing how your fellow artists tackled this problem. So both are really good, but just make sure that you're doing both, because if you only study the drawings, then you're not going to get the full picture. Okay, I hope that made sense and was helpful. That's all for today. As we mentioned earlier, feel free to check out the Patreon that Ferdinand has put the little ticker up again. Feel free to check out the Patreon that Ferdinand has if you're looking for group mentoring. He also does, I believe, some one-on-one mentoring. We have a lot of tutorials at animatorisland.com that you can check out. Just kind of some plugging before we sign off for the day. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Whatever it is that you're going to do it well and with goodness and love and compassion. And then we'll see everybody next Monday, hopefully. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.